Do a quick little FRQ prep for this problem. This is adapted from the AP Macro Exam 2016 number 1 here. First it says, assume the U.S. economy is in a short-run equilibrium. So in other words, hey, they're not at the long run. They're not at AD equals AS equals LRAS, with the actual unemployment rate above the natural rate of unemployment. So before we go any further, it's a good idea to say, so that means unemployment is, we'll say, 8. And the natural rate, if the natural rate of unemployment is, say, 5. So this means we're in a recession. Right? It's good to identify where you're at before you even start the problem. Draw a single correctly labeled graph of the short run and the long run Phillips curve. Label the current short run equilibrium point as point P. Okay, so for part A, down, over, and this is unemployment percent and inflation percent, or we could say price level percent. And we're going to need a downward sloping SRPC and a vertical LRPC. And we need to put a point P that indicates a recession. So we want high unemployment and low prices. So that's going to be down here. Any point below this, this intersect is actually fine. This intercept is fine here. So any point along here would be acceptable. Assuming no policy actions are taken, will the short run Phillips curve shift to the right, up, left, down, or remain the same in the long run? Explain. So this goes back to the idea of, in the long run, what will happen to an economy? Well, I'm going to draw a little picture to show you what happens in aggregate demand and aggregate supply. You don't need this graph, but this is what ends up happening. So we have aggregate demand and short run aggregate supply and LRAS. And we are here at point P. Now in the long run, because right, we have YF, Y1, we are at point P. Too little output, lots of unemployment. And again, I'm going to say this, this as clear as I can. Some pay is better than no pay. And so what we'll see is that workers will start to accept lower wages. Again, this is the theory aspect. Workers will accept lower wages, and that would increase the short run aggregate supply curve because lower production costs, right? So we go back down to this point. We'll just say point Z. Now, if the SRAS is shifting to the right, we know from IRAP that if SRAS is on my left hand, right, so that's my left hand, and it's shifting to the right, then that means that SRPC has to be shifting in. Now it doesn't ask us to graph that, but that's what's going to happen, is it will move in like that, and we'll actually come back to this point Z here on the graph. So it's going to be kind of an in diagonal movement. Now a graph actually could work here if you explained what was going on here and you drew it, but I would actually say the easier way to answer question B is to say shift left because SRAS increased. That's all you have to say. And if you want to, you can say because wages decreased. Right? That's all. You don't have to do all this other stuff. You could just say it shifts left because SRAS increases, or shifts to the right. The SRAS shifts to the right. Now, it says if the Fed wants to lower unemployment. So in other words, none of this stuff happened, right? So like, put B out of your head for part C. If the Fed wants to lower unemployment, what expansionary open market operation should it use? So this is just testing your knowledge. Do you remember Unit 8? They should buy bonds. Now, why should they buy bonds? Well, it doesn't say. The explain, it's not in here, but I'm going to put it in here. Because, right, then the interest rate nominal goes down, and then the real interest rate in theory goes down. I'm going to put a little question mark there, that sometimes happens. And then consumption and investment go up, and therefore we would say aggregate demand goes back up. And so therefore unemployment goes down. Okay, so now part D, how will the open market operation you described in C affect each of the following? Federal funds rate, explain real interest rate in the short run. Okay, so this is actually what I just wrote here. So D, the federal D1, the federal funds rate is just that nominal interest rate. That's actually what it is. So the federal funds rate goes down, and we'd say because the supply of money went up. So I'm going to draw a graph off to the side to show you what I mean. You have quantity of money, and you have that nominal interest rate, which we can sometimes just call the federal funds rate. Supply of money, demand for money. The supply goes up, that's a shift to the right, and so the interest rate goes down. Now part D2 says the real interest rate in the short run. So if there's more supply of money, that the Fed is creating more money and providing more reserves to banks, then the supply of loanable funds will increase. So that the interest rate real should also decrease in the short run. And that's because the supply of money increased, so therefore the supply of loanable funds increased, so therefore the interest rate real went down. Now part E, given your answer in part D2, what's the effect on real GDP in the short run? Explain. So if the real interest rate went down, if real interest rate decreases, then GDPR increases in the short run because, and it's actually what I wrote up here, C and I go up, and therefore aggregate demand goes up, therefore output goes up. So this is in the short run, right? This is in the short run. Okay. Any last wonderings? Please feel free to check in with me during office hours or shoot me an email. I'll see you next time.